How's it going, guys? My name is Jimmy Champane, and today we're talking about It Chapter 2. I was trying to think of what movie to make a video on, and this one just came up in my head because I'm super excited for it. And there's actually been quite a bit of news since I did my last video just about a month ago. But before we get into that, thanks so much for clicking on my video. Okay, so the first thing we have to talk about is when we're getting the trailer for this movie, and it turns out it's actually going to be pretty soon, tomorrow. Everyone's been asking Andy Muschietti on Instagram when we're going to see it, and it turns out they've all just been looking in the wrong place because over in Times Square, there was a big video playing the other day that said witness the end of It on Thursday. Anyway, no one decided to tell Warner Brothers that the premieres feature is totally broken on YouTube, so they got one going, and it turns out the trailer's dropping tomorrow at 9 a.m. Now, I'm gonna do a trailer breakdown as soon as it's over, so make sure you turn on the notification bell so you get an email as soon as I upload it. Now, as for what we're gonna see in the trailer, I'm not exactly sure because unlike Halloween, the footage they showed at CinemaCon just turned out to be a full scene and not a trailer. I'd assume we're gonna see both the kid and adult versions of the Losers Club, and also what Derry, Maine looks like in 2019. It's gonna look a lot different than the original movie for sure because they kind of shifted the entire timeline up 27 years, so I'm excited for that. I also hope they show us just a little look at what Pennywise's state of mind is 27 years later, now that we know he's gotten his ass beat by a bunch of kids. He's probably pretty mad. And speaking of Pennywise, I actually got pretty lucky while I was writing this video because Entertainment Weekly posted an interview with Bill Skarsgård where he talked about kind of how Pennywise has changed over 27 years. He said the arc of the first movie is that he, for the first time, experiences fear himself. His last line, fear, is him experiencing it for the first time, and he's sort of shocked and perplexed and surprised. Like, what is this? He also said that that feeling of fear has kind of inspired Pennywise to kill these kids out of revenge instead of a need to eat. He said it fuels hatred and anger towards the kids who will be adults in this one, so I think there might be an even more vicious Pennywise. He's really going after it. Now, I gotta be honest with you guys, that's exactly what I wanted to hear about this character because as much as I love It Chapter 1, it's one of my favorite horror movies ever, I never really felt like while I was watching that movie that any of the kids were actually in any danger. Like, I always knew that none of them were gonna die. It really felt like they showed us Georgie dying at the beginning so they could shock us immediately and then ride that wave all the way to the end of the movie. Now that the kids in the Losers Club have grown up to become adults, any of them are technically fair game, and I don't think they'll really change that much from the novel, especially since Gary Doberman wrote the entire script for this one all by himself. But since the timeline is shifting 27 years forward, they can really play around with Pennywise and maybe which of the Losers Club kids are going to die. You should definitely go check this interview out because it's pretty good, but there was one line that stuck with me towards the end where Bill Skarsgård was talking about how hard it was for him to get Pennywise out of his brain after they wrapped filming. He said, "I was home, done with the movie, and I started to have very strange, vivid Pennywise dreams. Every night he came and visited. It was in the shape of either me dealing with him, sort of Pennywise as a separate entity of me, and then also me as Pennywise in circumstances that I didn't appreciate." I don't know why I've never considered this, but for people like Bill Skarsgård or James Jude Courtney or Kane Hodder, it must be kind of hard to get these characters out of their brains when they're done playing him. In fact, James Jude Courtney just did a panel at a recent horror convention where he talked about how playing Michael Myers sort of turned him on. You should definitely Google that because it's a pretty fucking weird quote. But regardless, I hope Pennywise just sort of chills in Bill Skarsgård's brain instead of manifesting in real life because that dude has a promising career and I want to see it continue. The last big news story this week is that Stephen King has already seen It Chapter 2, which really shouldn't be surprising since he wrote the book, and this is what he had to say about it. "Looking forward to It Chapter 2? You should be. I've seen it and it's terrific. The trailer is coming Thursday at noon. You'll float." And just so you guys know, he's talking about noon Eastern time. As much as I love hearing that Stephen King likes this adaptation of his own book, I would say take that recommendation from him with a grain of salt because he doesn't necessarily have the best taste in movies, especially movies that are adapted from his own books. He famously hates Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining, and he absolutely loved that Dark Tower movie that came out last year that I totally forgot I saw and reviewed until I just did a double check on my channel. So that's good. All in all, It Chapter 2 is definitely my most anticipated horror movie of the year after Godzilla King of the Monsters. It's just really cool to see big budget horror movies turn out good. And it's really cool to see that New Line is doing this with stuff that hasn't already been made on the big screen, like The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. I know everyone thinks It and It Chapter 2 are kind of remakes, but they're really not since the original It adaptation was a miniseries, and I'm really hoping that the Salem's Lot movie they're working on turns out just as good as these movies all did. That one's not a remake either because Salem's Lot, which was directed by Tobe Hooper, was also a TV movie. That's all I have today on It Chapter 2. Let me know what you think of the video down in the comments below, and I'll see you tomorrow morning for my my full trailer breakdown. Anyway guys, my name is Jimmy Champane, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.